What is up? What is up, everybody? This is JC Hoops, Jackson Collier, along with Riley McFerran over at HawgBeat.com. Riley is the managing editor. I'm the basketball analyst, and we are just talking Arkansas tonight. We're doing something new. We tried it out last game, last Friday, doing the immediate reaction to the post game, all that sort of stuff, doing it again tonight. So, Arkansas got the win tonight, and we're going to give our reactions, going to talk about some things. We're going to do a live Q&A, all that sort of stuff. So I guess first things first, we're going to go down our list of things to talk about. And the first thing that we're going to talk about was the early foul trouble. Arkansas got out to a rough start. Seems like that's a common thread, the last few seasons, and
Yep.
even this season as well. Starting slow in some games, but got some early foul trouble here, Riley. What did you make of that?
Yeah, so I mean, early foul trouble for two players that are incredibly important. Caleb Battle and Trevon Mark both had two quick ones, and those are your two, go-to playmakers, especially Caleb Battle, who had 21 points in the last game, 21 points in the season opener. I mean, it's really interesting to see, what this Arkansas team does without those two guys on the court. And as everybody saw in that first half, they were sluggish, couldn't really get a lot of things going offensively. So until Caleb eventually came back into the game to close that first half, he was needed. So it's going to be crucial that they don't, get in a ton of foul trouble going forward because, they're just so important to this team.
No, absolutely. And it's one of those things where even though this Arkansas team has a ton of depth, and you look at depth, it's like, they have depth at all positions. They have depth in the front court. They have depth in the back court. They have depth in the wing positions, all this sort of stuff. But they still have their go-to guys. And if your go-to guys are the ones that are getting in foul trouble, like you just mentioned with Caleb Battle and the such, that changes how you attack a defense. And it doesn't matter who your opponent is. You're still playing Division I basketball. And the fact is, Arkansas is playing Division I basketball. And they were in foul trouble, and honestly, they were not able to attack tonight like they wanted to attack.
No, and like I said before, without Caleb Battle, without Tremont Mark in the game, you're relying on guys like Devontae Davis, who in the past has shown that he can take over a game, and we all saw what happened at the Kansas game in the Sweet 16 last year. He can take over a game, and he did play well today. Without those guys on the court, he had to assert himself more because in the first two games, he hasn't really done that as much. He hasn't been that same attacking divo that we've all seen, and he was relied upon more in this game. And another guy that really stepped up today that, had a good game last game. He had 13 points, only had, I think, 7 or 8 in the season opener was L. Ellis. 17 points, was really, really efficient. Looked like the kind of guy that you hoped coming from Louisville he would be. Obviously at Louisville he was, I think I talked about this on the last post-game show. He was the main dude. He was the conduit that made things go. And so you kind of wondered how he would transition to this team. Well, this is how, right? Whenever he needed to step up without Caleb Battle, without Tremont Mark on the court, he played really, really well. Those two guys, Ellis and Devo, you're going to need those guys to step up, and they did today.
And this is the unofficial box score. This is the stat broadcast, but I'm looking right now, and L. Ellis, looking at the unofficial box right now, 17 points on 7-11 from the field, 8 assists and 0 turnovers. And that's coming without, that's without Mark, that's without Battle, obviously, like we had just mentioned. So if you're getting that from your point guard, you're getting that distribution, you're getting that scoring from your point guard without two of his top pieces to distribute to, or even two top pieces who go and get their own, that says a lot about this backcourt depth.
It says a ton. And, it definitely helps whenever you have Trevon Brazile to throw the ball to. Whenever you have a guy like Makai Mitchell, who, hey man, he played really, really well today. We've been looking at how that situation would play out with Makai, Chandler Lawson, Jalen Graham. He stepped up today, and he might be the guy going forward. And I mean, coming into the season, you kind of thought Makai would probably end up that guy. I mean, he started a ton of games last year. Tonight, he ended up with in just under 30 minutes of play. That's a lot of minutes, a lot more than he's played recently. He ended up with 15 points, 10 rebounds, a nice little double action in your third game of the year. So it really helps whenever you're LLS. You don't have two of your main guys to go to in Tremont Mark and Caleb Battle, and you can rely on your big men like Makai, like a Trevon Brazil, who we all know is, I mean, superb. He's just one of the best players in the country. And I mean, yeah, if those guys can continue to play at that level, this Arkansas team is going to be really, really hard to beat.
And even though this Arkansas team has shown that like it has a lot of talent, has a lot of depth all across the floor, despite all that, it was a very close game, both in the first half and really throughout the entire game. It was 37-31 at halftime. Arkansas only led by 6. And then the final score, Arkansas only won by 9, 86-77. What do you kind of make of such a close game throughout the entirety of it?
Yeah, man. I mean, it was really weird. Coming into this game, I probably would have told you, just looking at the paper, that this Old Dominion team was somewhere in between Alcorn State and Gardner-Webb in terms of just how good they were. And so, I expected Arkansas to win easily. I mean, quite frankly, if you would have told me that Arkansas would shoot 51% from the field, 42% from three, and only have 4 turnovers, I mean, yeah, you think Arkansas is winning big there. That wasn't the case. There are definitely some things that need to be fixed. I will say, let's see here. Old Dominion shot 8 of 9. Or no, I'm sorry. Old Dominion shot 11 of 24 from 3. 11 3-point makes. Coming into this game, Arkansas was playing pretty good 3-point defense. Opponents were shooting 9 of 32 prior to this game. That's 28%. So Old Dominion made 11 for 24. That's 45.8%. Slight uptick there. That played a big role. One player in particular who played really well was Chauncey Jenkins, or Chauncey. Is it Chauncey? I think it's Chauncey Jenkins, who had
Chance.
I think that's how you pronounce it. Yeah, 21 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists on 3 of 6 from 3. I know some Arkansas fans. I mean, a lot of people did this last season in the early non-conference with Grant Nelson, right? You saw him play. He was really, really good. People were hoping that once the transfer portal came around that, he would be available. Hey, man, I mean, it's only one performance, but Chauncey Jenkins looked really good. Maybe he's that next guy.
Oh, no, absolutely. And, it's one of those things, like you just said, Arkansas has been really good defensively this season so far. They have held, I think, both their opponents under 30% from the 3-point line. And then, Old Dominion shot dang near 46%. They were 11-24 for 45.8%. Some of those were contested. Some of those were really difficult shots. Other shots were just wide open that they made. So, I'm sure that's one of the things that Eric Musselman is gonna want to get figured out. He's a real stickler for perimeter defense, especially with contesting shots and defending a 3-point shot. But as far as what he's commented on so far this season, you have Trevon Brazil, who again he's coming off his ACL injury. This is his 3rd game back, and there are a lot of people wondering, what is he going to be like coming back? Is he going to be 100%? Is he going to be a shell of himself, whatever? But after the very first game against Alcorn State, Eric Musselman was like, look, we need to defend the rim better. And this is the 2nd game in a row where Trevon Brazil has done that. He had 4 blocks at halftime. I think he finished the game with 4 blocks as well. But he's defending the rim at a high level. He also finished with 11 points. He hit a couple threes. He had 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 blocks, all that sort of stuff. But defending the rim is a huge plus for this team. Trevon Brazil's provided that. What are your thoughts on Trevon Brazil and his ability to defend the rim?
Yeah, well, first, before I get into Brazil, he's a highlight maker, right? So for those faithful viewers out there, I'm going to go ahead and turn these highlights on for you guys on loop so you guys can watch while we're talking. Trevon Brazil, kind of like you said, he had 11 points, he had 4 rebounds, but it's not just what he does on offense, it's what he does on defense. He had those 4 blocks, and not all of those were in the paint. I know he had at least 1, maybe 2 blocks out on the perimeter on 3-point shots. So, just that crazy athletic length, it's just so hard to be an offensive player going against him. He's a mismatch, but he's not perfect. He's a really, really good player, and he's going to be a first-round draft pick, but he's not perfect. He was 3 of 7 from the field. That's not amazing, but it's not terrible. He was 2 of 4 from 3, which is huge. Being able to spread the floor that's why he was so missed last season, right? Is his ability to stretch the floor at a very efficient rate. And so, him being on the court, I think I said this last show, what else is there to say about Trevon Brazil at this point? The dude is just amazing. And, he's going to play a huge role for this Arkansas team going forward.
No, there's really not much else to say about Trevon Brazil because, he hits his shots from the perimeter. He can dunk on anybody he wants to. He can offensive rebound. He can defensive rebound. He can assist. He can steal. He can defend the rim. Whatever. He can do pretty much anything from his position. So he's a very strong player, and I think regardless of competition level, he is still putting up the stats. He's putting up the performances that you would expect of a potential SEC player of the year. But if we're looking at the Arkansas front court, I think we need to look at Makai Mitchell, especially tonight. Makai Mitchell posted a double-double tonight. 15 points, 10 rebounds. He was 6 of 7 from the field. He was 3 of 5 from the free throw line, which I'm not going to say that's like, oh, that's so good for a big man, but it's good for recent Arkansas big men. He only blocked 1 shot tonight. He had 4 blocks last game. He only had 1 tonight, but a double-double, 15 and 10. He played, looks about close to 30 minutes. What are your thoughts on Makai Mitchell? And is this 15 and 10 performance, is that the kind of thing that Arkansas needs out of him?
Makai Mitchell playing like this changes everything about this Arkansas team. I mean, going in the tournament last season, that was probably one of the biggest complaints from Arkansas fans was the lack of, true quality big man play, right? And so, that was one of the things that, fans hoped Eric Musselman would attack in the offseason. He didn't really do that. And so you needed Makai Mitchell to step up in a big way this season. And he had flashes last season of excellent play. And, you have to consider the opponent tonight. Old Dominion doesn't run a ton of tall guys out there, but, Makai Mitchell, 15 and 10, double-double. That's a great way to start in just under 30 minutes of play. And just, kind of like I said earlier, he really asserted himself today. Whenever I look at the other, big men that could have playing time, Chandler Lawson had under 7 minutes of playing time, 6:24 to be exact. Jalen Graham, who, has played well the first 2 games, he only had 5 minutes and 50 seconds of play, right? So Makai Mitchell really came out, played a big role, and his ability to handle the ball and give the ball to other playmakers around the court is huge for this Arkansas offense. And, if he can continue playing like this, the sky's the limit for Arkansas offensively.
Absolutely. And I think the thing with Makai, obviously he added the rebounds tonight too, but the thing about Makai is that when you are able to space the floor like the Razorbacks are able to do this season, you have your shooters with L. Ellis is knocking down perimeter shots. Devo Davis has proven he can knock down perimeter shots. Cliff Battle, Jeremiah Davenport, Tremont Mark, whoever is on the perimeter can shoot those shots. So even if you run Makai Mitchell, interior, exterior, however you want to do him, ball screens on the perimeter, or if you want to run him as a true 5 on the inside with a 4 out 1 in, however you want to run the offense, he is much better equipped to be able to score with the space that he has. Because last season, look, if defenders are not having to defend the perimeter, if they're not having to defend the guards out there, if they're not having to look like if they're really not looking at Ricky Council as a shooter, they're not looking at Jalen Graham as a shooter, they're not looking at Anthony Black as a shooter, they're going to pack the paint. Then if you pass to the post, then you have a collapse of like 3 men on your starting center. Well, this year, if you run a 4-out 1 in or a true 5-out and a dive with Makai Mitchell, the thing is, you have so many shooters out there now where it is a true isolation in the post, where Makai Mitchell can actually go, and this goes for whoever's down there. If it's Jalen Graham, if it's Bay Fall, if it's whoever's down in the post, whoever Muss decides that he wants to put at that 5 spot, it is a true isolation this year because of the fact that they have actual shooters. They have actual spacing going on there. So you have the ability to go one-on-one ISO in the post. And I think Makai Mitchell's probably Jalen Graham's probably the best isolation post offensive player on this team. Makai Mitchell, with his size, I don't think he's bad isolation offensively at all. In fact, I think as far as if you have a balance of isolation post defense and isolation post offense, Makai Mitchell's probably the best on the team for both sides of the ball. If you're spacing the floor like Arkansas is doing this year, you're giving him the ability to operate in space on the offensive end. He's going to put up more scoring performances like this. I'm not saying he's going to average 15 points. He might not even average 10-plus points this season, but he's going to at least provide the threat, just like you have the wings that are providing the threat of shooting on the perimeter.
Right. I mean, shooting is crucial for this team, right? And that cures a lot of mistakes. And, I mean, just looking at the box score here, Brazil hit 2 of 4 from 3. Ellis hit 1 of 2. Devontae hit 1 of 4. Tremont Mark made 1. Caleb Battle made 2. Caleb Battle, I mean, man, that dude can shoot from anywhere in the court. Doesn't matter. He made 1 shot out of an inbounds, and he just turned around and drained it. I mean, that's a kind of sharpshooter that this Arkansas team desperately needed. Jeremiah Davenport, who's kind of struggled from 3-point land. He made 1 today, so that's good to see. You want this Arkansas team to continue shooting because, like you said, that opens up the court, that opens up play for your big men, guys like Makai Mitchell, who with spacing can really thrive in those one-on-one situations. Like you said, Jalen Graham especially can do that. And so, shooting cures all woes. And so, going forward, as long as this Arkansas team can continue to make those 3-point shots, continue to space the floor, that's going to give, multiple opportunities for those big men to make plays. And hey, man, whenever Arkansas is shooting, whenever they're making those plays under the rim, they're really, really good.
And, we just gave Makai Mitchell a ton of credit, and obviously he was the starting 5, or he wasn't the starting 5 tonight. He played the starting 5 minutes. He played the most minutes of any interior post on the team this game. Excuse me. But there's a big elephant in the room, and that was getting out rebounded tonight by Old Dominion. Arkansas got out rebounded 39-35 tonight by Old Dominion. What do you make of that? Especially look, you look down, and again, this is the unofficial box right now. This is not the official box score, but it's likely close to what the official box score would be. But Makai Mitchell had 10 rebounds. Tremont Mark had 6. Devo had 5. And then no one else really rebounded well at all. What do you make of the fact that Arkansas got out-rebounded by Old Dominion?
Yeah, so it's really interesting, right? The last game against Gardner-Webb, Arkansas only won that rebounding battle 46-40. And so that was kind of a big emphasis going into this game was the rebounding. As a matter of fact, after that Gardner-Webb game, Eric Musselman, spoke a little bit about it. He said, disappointed with our defensive rebounding for sure. And then we gave guys an opportunity tonight. He's talking about, second chance points and things of that nature. In Arkansas, they gave up rebounds. They only won, like you said, they lost tonight 39-35 on the boards to Old Dominion. That's not very good. And especially whenever you have a guy like Trevon Brazile, there are going to be situations where you might want to play him at the 5, right? You might want to run, 4 guards out there with, a ton of, playmaking power. And then Trevon Brazile to kind of spread the floor and play that more small ball role at the 5. I don't know if you're going to be able to do that if you can't rebound. So that's going to be a key thing to look at going forward. Can they rebound? Can they secure the ball on the offensive and defensive side of the glass? Because if they can't, they're going to give up a ton of second chance points. I believe they lost the second chance points battle tonight. I know Old Dominion did have 32 points in the paint. Not very good. Old Dominion isn't a fantastic team. Arkansas is going to play a lot better talent in the SEC. So if they can't rebound, that's definitely a concern, definitely something that needs to be addressed going forward.
No, I completely agree. I think, I think the goal going in and speaking to both, assistant coaches on the roster and speaking to players, speaking to any sources that I have over the offseason, it was, okay, this team is going to have the ability to rebound, but also we're going to go small ball and we're going to, space teams out and just destroy them offensively. Now, I think that is completely adequate. I think the team is going to be able to do that offensively. But if you can't win on the boards without even going, they didn't even really go small ball lineup tonight all that much. I mean, Makai Mitchell played almost 30 minutes. And they lost the rebounding battle. If you're not even going to go small ball against Old Dominion and still lose the rebounding battle, I don't know how you expect to go small ball in the SEC, or even, you have matchups against Stanford coming up, potentially Michigan or Memphis, maybe even North Carolina, Villanova, who however the battle for Atlantis pans out. You have Duke coming into town. Then you have the entire SEC slate. So with all that working and going on, I don't know how you expect to win the rebounding battle if you can't beat Old Dominion on the boards, even running a full true big lineup with Makai Mitchell at the 5.
I mean, there were times they had Makai Mitchell and Jalen Graham out there on the court. And so, if you're not able to win the rebounding battle in those situations, like you said, against Old Dominion, it's not really looking great going forward. I mean, it's early, right? They can get that fixed. Another thing I kind of want to talk about that, it's still early on, but something I'm kind of watching right now is the free throw shooting. Last game I talked about it, and there were some guys that, probably won't end up playing a lot that had some, free throws that they missed, like a Bay Fall. But I mean, this game, that situation, it didn't really happen that way, right? 18 of 29 from the free throw from the charity stripe. That's not great. I believe that's around 62%. And over the offseason, that was kind of another thing that you hoped Musselman would address, because Arkansas wasn't a great free throw shooting team last season. You got a guy like Caleb Battle, who, we've seen make a ton of free throws. Tremont Marks made, free throws at a pretty good clip throughout his career. Devontae Davis, you have the guys that can make those free throws, but, so far through 3 games, it hasn't looked great. And, you're going to need those guys to be clutch, because in the SEC, you're going to be in a ton of close games, whether at home or on the road. There are going to be a lot of situations where you need a guy to step up with some ice in his veins, right? And, Caleb Battle looks like that guy, but, besides him, the team's kind of struggling, and I'm not too sure what to make of that. What do you think, Jackson?
No, I 100% agree, because, I even came on here last post game and said, look, you have guys that are shooting free throws that you wouldn't really have shooting free throws in normal games, right, against better competition. And then in this game, the guys who are missing free throws are the ones you want shooting free throws, which you're kind of surprised by. But, like, look, if you have Makai Mitchell, your starting 5, shooting better from the free throw line than 2 of your starting guards, who are both like 5-year seniors, you have, look, LL shot 50% from the free throw line. He's 2 of 4. Devontae Davis, 3 of 6, 50%. Makai Mitchell, I mean, he's not much better. He's 3 of 5, but that's still 60%. Like, how is Makai Mitchell going to shoot 60% from the free throw line and 2 of your starting guards shoot 50%? That is an issue. That should never happen. And then on top of that, also, Trevon Brazile was 3 of 6. So you have three of your top like scoring options, three of your most trusted players in Trevon Brazile, L. Ellis, Devontae Davis, combining for what is that? 8 out of 16 for 50% from the free throw line. You remove them from shooting free throws, and it is 10 of 13. The team outside of three of your most important players shot 10 of 13 from the free throw line. And, I'm not saying like, oh, those three shouldn't try to attack the basket anymore. Those three don't need to go to the free throw line anymore. Quite the opposite. They need to get to the free throw line. But if they're the ones getting to the free throw line, they need to make their free throws. You can't sit here and say that, like, look, our starting point guard, our 4-year starting guard, and our NBA prospect swing forward are going to combine to shoot 50%. And each of them are actually going to shoot 50% individually. That should never happen.
No, it shouldn't. And like I said, that's going to be something to watch going forward, especially next week in the Battle for Atlantis. That's more of that tournament setting, right? That's what you see in the NCAA tournament. It's going to be interesting to see away from Bud Walton Arena how the team shoots, especially at the charity stripe. But just in terms of shooting in general, Arkansas has shot the ball really well up to this point. I mean, I'm not sure the exact number, but they shot over 50% from the field today, shooting threes at a much higher clip. Today they made 8 of 19. That's big time for this Arkansas team. Jackson, I kind of want your take on the shooting in general. You have multiple playmakers around the court that can make, you've got crafty shots around the rim. L. Ellis, I mean, man, that dude, whenever he gets a full head of steam down to the basket, it doesn't matter which side, he looks like a veteran out there, and he can make any kind of shot. Caleb Battle can make any kind of shot. Tremont Mark can make pretty much any kind of shot with how high he jumps. I mean, how important is it for this Arkansas team going forward in the SEC, even in next week's tournament in the Battle for Atlantis, to have three guys like that and more on your roster that can make shots from anywhere around the court?
I mean, it's incredibly important because, it's not just important for the Battle for Atlantis. It's important for the rest of the season, for the conference slate, and for the NCAA tournament. But, obviously, going along with having guys that can hit those shots, you want to have good shot selection. And this is the second game in a row where Arkansas honestly did not have good shot selection early on in the game. The percentages ended up finishing solid, just like they did last game. But to start off the game and even closing the game to some extent, did not have good shot selection. I mean, you're taking contested shots with two hands in your face. You're taking fall-away jumpers. You're taking shots that are just not within a normal rhythm of your jump shot motion. Like, I don't know. The selection has not been great. It just hasn't. But even then, even with the selection not being great, Arkansas still finished on the game shooting almost 51% from the field, for over 42% from three. Obviously, only 62% from the free throw line. But my whole thing is, I wonder what those percentages would be if they worked a little bit harder to get better shots, or if they like passed up some of these terrible shots they're taking. Because honestly, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Some of the shots they take are terrible. There's no reason to go in the paint and jack up a fall away floater over two guys. Like, I don't care if you're Caleb Battle or Russell Westbrook or James Harden or whoever you are. There's no reason to drive the paint and do a fadeaway jumper or floater over two guys. There's just not. So the fact that Arkansas is doing that in the first half, like very early on, it's disheartening. I think I've even seen Musselman kind of frustrated with that on the sidelines watching the game. Like, you'll see a random floater go up in the paint, or you'll see a contested jump shot go up, and he'll just he'll do his patented slam his hands on the scoreboard or the score column in the middle of the floor, and he'll motion his guys to get back on defense because he knows the shot's not going in. But like your question said, it's crucial to have guys that can hit those shots. But the point is, you got to take good shots. You can take tough contested shots like in clutch time. By all means, that's fine. But there's no reason to take those shots that you would take like as time is winding down when there's 20 minutes on the clock in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, and I wonder how much of the poor shot selection is just, new guys trying to figure out their roles, right? Coming from different teams where they were the guy. Maybe not Tremont Mark so much, but L. Ellis and Caleb Battle, they were the guys at their respective schools, Temple and Louisville. And so, we've had this conversation. How do they transition into a new team when you're surrounded by talent? We have kind of noticed, especially Caleb Battle. Sometimes, I mean, he'll go in there and he'll make some crazy shot, a crazy 3-pointer, whatever it might be. But sometimes he'll drive in there and kind of not really have anywhere to go, and he'll jack up a shot. Sometimes he's bailed with a foul. But that's definitely something that needs to get fixed going forward. And fortunately for the Razorbacks, it's very fixable. I mean, like you said, despite taking those bad shots, they still ended the game shooting really, really well. So, I mean, the sky's the limit in terms of how efficient they can be going forward. Because if you start taking good shots only and you start draining them, then, I mean, man, this team can really, really do some damage. As far as another, talking point I kind of want to bring up is, and we've kind of touched on this a little bit, but just as a team overview, is the rotation, the minutes allocated to the players. I know Eric Musselman, after the last game against Gardner-Webb, he talked a little bit about that rotation. He said, "Oh, it's drilled down. I can already tell you that. Tonight was you play your way in or you play your way out." And so we kind of saw the result of that today. Not as many players played. We didn't see a guy like Bayfall. I don't believe Joseph Pinion got in the game at all, right? That's a guy that can stroke it from three. He didn't have any minutes. Layden Blocker did get in the game, but only for 2 minutes. Kind of didn't look great out there. I think he hit shot a three and it hit the side of the goal. So maybe some freshman jitters there. Just kind of as an overview. Oh, and Donajay Harrison get in the game, right? That's another forward that could potentially play his way into some minutes with how hard he plays. I do see that our fearless leader here and publisher of HawgBeat.com, Mason Choate, has joined us. Mason, give us some quick thoughts on the game.
What's up, guys? Yeah, obviously, another example of there are teams across the country that got beat tonight, and Arkansas is not one of them. So it wasn't the greatest performance, but you won, and you got things that you can learn from. Obviously, I'm sure you guys talked about the perimeter defense. That was one thing that Eric Musselman was not happy with after the game. He gave out some grades. And he gave out a double F, a triple F, and then for a 3-point defense, he said there was no grade bad enough to describe the 3-point defense that Arkansas had. So obviously a disappointed Eric Musselman. If you're watching on Twitter, I highly encourage you to go check out the thumbnail that I used for our YouTube video for Eric Musselman's press conference. It kind of sums up how he felt after this game. Yeah. Well, I mean, it definitely did not feel like Arkansas won in the post-game press conference, but
for the second game in a row.
Yeah. So, I mean, like this one is a little bit different than Gardner-Webb, though, because, I mean, Old Dominion was just like hitting so many shots, so many difficult shots. And, I mean, obviously Arkansas's defense has to get better, but credit to Old Dominion for hitting some shots, right? Like this was a tough, scrappy Old Dominion team. Eric Musselman said that they expect them to win their league. I mean, we hear that about every non-conference opponent they play, basically. But yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, like that's about it, man. Like it's the third game of the season. There's things that they have to work on, obviously defensively. But shout out to Makai Mitchell, like. Earn your spot in the rotation, man. Like double. We talked about it in last game. Talked about how he's trying to work his way into the rotation and be that big guy that they need at the 5 spot. And I think he proved that he's the guy, right? Like the Chandler Lawson thing. I don't want to call it a fluke because I think he's talented, but definitely the performance he had against Purdue. I feel like maybe we overhyped Chandler Lawson a little bit after that, right?
I don't even know if it's like quote unquote overhyping. I think his skill set fits in certain matchups. and obviously I don't think those matchups have been prevalent yet so far, that like in the regular season that have actually counted. But you look at the first game out. Obviously, Makai and Lawson, neither one of them played a ton. But the past 2 games, Makai Mitchell's played a lot. He's played very well. He filled the stat sheet last game, and with every single stat, like points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks last game. This game, it was a true double-double, 15 points, 10 rebounds, playing his spot, running the 2-man game, setting ball screens, like I mentioned in the last post game. He's very good at doing that. And I think he has definitely solidified himself as a starting 5.
Jackson, I love everything that you just said. It's just that like I was struggling to hear it a little bit just because I could hear Riley just typing on his computer over you talking, and then you can hear the Bud Walton Arena trash cans behind me. So I'm so sorry for all the distractions when you're over here articulating basketball to all of us, Jackson. You're doing an incredible job, and I apologize for Riley's actions right now on this live. But
it's okay. We're just gonna have to boot Riley. I'm just gonna have to do this show solo from now on, because I honestly just can't have that kind of disrespect. So if Riley is doing that to me, like he's not gonna be a co-host anymore.
Listen, man. I'm trying to reply to our faithful viewers here on our message board, the Trough, which you can visit ArkansasRivals.com. I'm trying to be a good moderator here and answer people's questions. My bad, Jackson. I don't want to answer or interrupt your expertise, which I know is very, very good. I don't want to interrupt that, so I will refrain from typing going forward. I know my keyboard can be a little bit loud.
What a cop-out. That's such a cop-out answer. Like, how am I supposed to get mad at you for, answering questions to our loyal subscribers? That is such a cop-out, but I appreciate your apology.
All right. Let's get back on track here. So what else? Obviously I joined you guys late. What else do we need to talk about here?
We've covered all 5 of our main talking points that we wanted to tonight. So if you had anything that you wanted to add that you just felt like, I need to talk about this, because I was in person and I was in Bud Walton Arena.
I guess if we want to talk about just the atmosphere tonight, it was okay. It was a Monday night, not that great of a crowd. I thought there were times that they got into the game, especially in the second half, where there were a few times where Old Dominion cut it to 4, cut it to 3 at one point, and then Arkansas would go on a run, and then Old Dominion would cut it back a little bit, and then Arkansas would, do something. And so the crowd kind of got into it, but this was a tough game for Arkansas. This was a good challenge for Arkansas. And so I think, not only the fact that they didn't really have a full crowd behind them, but the fact that they did face adversity and they overcame it. Despite the fact that you didn't really get a whole lot from, some of your guys. Jalen Graham didn't do a whole lot. Tremont Mark is a guy that Eric Musselman talked about in the postgame press conference. He's going to play more. And so, that's another guy who didn't really give you a whole lot. But we saw that Devo, that's the Devo that we know is there, but we finally saw him take over. So, some good things, some takeaways from postgame. I kind of hit on it. Eric Musselman not happy. Another big thing, Caleb Battle is just the most well-spoken guy ever. He's a great, very well-spoken player. Called Trevon Brazil a unicorn. So, my other big takeaway, Trevon Brazil, UNC Greensboro on Friday. That's the team that he tore his ACL against last year. From everybody, we talked to Caleb Battle, Makai Mitchell, Eric Musselman. All of them seem to think that Trevon Brazil is 100% ready physically and mentally, because that's tough playing against the same team that you tore your ACL against. It could be a mental challenge, but they don't seem to think that's going to happen. So, yeah, man, that's really all I got. We just looking forward to Friday now, because it's basketball season, right? Nothing else going on. 100% basketball. Nothing else going on with the Arkansas Razorbacks.
There is nothing else relevant going on in Fayetteville right now at all. Everything is as normal, as expected. It is basketball season officially. I know Razorback fans are going to be really, really excited. Just a quick, very quick, brief overview of the next opponent, the UNC Greensboro Spartans. They are currently 1-0 on the season. They beat North Carolina A&T 94-78 in their last matchup. They do play Vanderbilt tomorrow, so if you want to get a kind of a nice little overlook on how that team will play against an SEC opponent, I know Vanderbilt's not exactly comparable to Arkansas, but if you wanted to get a look on them, you can tomorrow. And they do rank 125th in the country in KenPom, so kind of around or a little bit better actually than this Old Dominion team that they played tonight. So that's a nice little overview of a pretty solid step up in competition on Friday for the Razorbacks.
Good job, Riley. Good job.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody, round of applause for Riley. This is only his second time ever being live on a camera, so shout out to Riley. Shout out to Jackson. Shout out to the HawgBeat crew. Visit HawgBeat.com. You see it on the screen, HawgBeat.com. Scan the code, whatever you got to do, visit it. A lot of great content, not only the basketball stuff, but you all know what's going on with football. We'll keep you up to date with what's going on with that, as well as the basketball team. So really appreciate everybody joining the guys early on. Appreciate it if you're still listening this late in the show. And, yeah, looking forward to doing this throughout the rest of the season. Make sure you subscribe to the HawgBeat YouTube. Give it a thumbs up. Hit subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff, and stay with us throughout the rest of the season because we're going to be doing this after every game. You're going to have Jackson, JC Hoops. You're going to have Riley. And you're going to have myself. And we're going to be talking Arkansas basketball because that's what everybody wants to talk about, right? Nothing else. We talked about it. Nothing else going on, just basketball. It's basketball season.
Nope.
So
just
we're
basketball.
We're going to have a good time.
Hey, just remember, we're doing this post game after every single game, including Battle for Atlantis games, including the big matchup against Duke coming up. That's coming up. And we're going to be doing a live post game after the Arkansas Duke game. So you got to be tuned in.
It's going to be good. That's one of those games that has been marked down on the calendar for a long time, and it's just the one. We all know the tickets, we all know that good stuff. So we'll get to it later on. Got to get through UNC Greensboro. Going to be a tough UNC Greensboro team on Friday. So make sure you stay tuned to HawgBeat.com for all of that. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the HawgBeat Hoops post.